Hey guys, my name is Mandy and welcome back to my channel. I'm trying a new angle today. I'm standing up instead of sitting down. We'll see how I like it. But today I want to talk to you about the unread contemporary / historical novels on my shelves. By this I basically mean anything that takes place in our real world. No magic, science, anything from today, anywhere in the past, if that makes sense. That's just how I have my books organized between real life-ish and sci-fi and fantasy. So today we're going to be talking about the contemporary shelf. I'll also be coming out with a sci-fi fantasy video. The big thing with this video that I hope to accomplish is figuring out which books are worth it and which books are not worth it, what books you guys have heard of, which you've read. In the interest of time, I will not be discussing the books that I recently hauled in my birthday haul video. I haven't read those ones and I've already mentioned them on my channel. So if you watch that video and you see a book that you really think I should read, feel free to comment on that video, but for the purposes today, I will only be talking about the books that I previously had. The first book that I have is Someone Else's Summer by Rachel Bateman. This book is about a girl who loses her sister and she spends her summer doing her sister's bucket list, from what I remember. I haven't read this one, I haven't heard of it on BookTube, but I found it at a thrift store and figured why not pick it up. The next book I have is All You Need Is Love by Deb Coletti. This one is a combo book. It contains, it contains the books Wild Roses and The Nature of Jade. I, several years ago, read some Deb Coletti books and I don't remember anything about them. And I think I got this for really cheap on Book Outlet, so I figured I would check it out. If you guys have read either of these Deb Coletti books, let me know, and yeah. Next up, we have Just One Day by Gail Forman. I read her If I Stay series and I enjoyed it, and I found this one for $1 at a used bookstore, so I got it. I haven't read it yet, obviously, and I don't know if you've read this one. Let me know if it's worth it. I know that there is another book that comes after this, and maybe I've just been waiting to read this one until I have the other one, but I'm not sure. Okay, this next one I think is actually the book that has been on my GOODREADS TBR the longest, and the only reason, a couple months ago I went ahead and went through my GOODREADS TBR and filtered out ones that I didn't see myself reading anymore. And the only reason why I kept this one on is probably because I had a copy of it. That is She's Got the Beat by Nancy Krulik. This is one of the Simon Pulse romantic comedies that I've talked about before. The little quick reads that go by super fast. It's about a girl drummer. At least that's what I assume. I put it on my GOODREADS TBR years ago, back when I still was actively reading all of the new Simon Pulse romantic comedies. And I found it at a used bookstore. You'll find that is a very common theme. I found it for cheap and just grabbed it, and all these years later I still haven't read it. My next two are not necessarily in a series, but by the same author. I have Loving Will Shakespeare and Beware Princess Elizabeth, both by Carolyn Meyer. These are two historical fiction, historical fiction on Anne Hathaway, William Shakespeare's wife, and Queen Elizabeth. I had read some other books that were historical fiction by this author and I enjoyed them, so I got a couple more books to keep up with my historical fiction reading. Haven't read them. Have you read them? That's going to be a theme today. Have you read any of these books and should I read them? The sure sign that I have not read any of these books is that they still have all the stickers from the used bookstores. Next up we have Little Miss Red by Robin Palmer. This is a modern day retelling. This one is of Little Red Riding Hood, I don't really know how they bring Little Red Riding Hood into the future. I've read a few other books by Robin Palmer. She does modern day fairy tale retellings, and I enjoyed them, so when I found this one at a used bookstore, I picked it up. Still haven't read it. Next up, we've got The Last Song by Nicholas Sparks. I've read, I think, only one other Nicholas Sparks book, and I enjoyed The Last Song, the movie, so I picked this up at the used bookstore for $1. I have no idea if I want to read it or not. Okay, this next one, I don't actually know if this has any fantasy elements. The other books that this author writes is mostly fantasy paranormal, but from the description it didn't sound like there was anything paranormal, so I'm including this in the contemporary side. Let me know if there is anything paranormal or magical. That is The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater. This one I think is definitely up there on my list of priorities of when I'm going to read it, because I've been trying to read everything by Maggie Stiefvater. This is about a horse race. That's all I know. Next up, I have Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. This is a book that my mom has actually been begging me to read for several years. It's a historical fiction book, and it takes place in Lithuania during World War I or World War II, and I am actually Lithuanian. My mom is half Lithuanian, so my grandpa is full Lithuanian, and my mom is really into family history and stuff like that, so she has been begging me to read this book for years. Ruta Sepetys is Lithuanian as well. Whenever my mom tries to get me to read this, she tells me that it really helps her to understand what happened to her grandpa's brother, who actually disappeared during World War II. He was taken to one of the work camps and never came back. And so she said that this book really helped her to understand what happened to him. I really just need to pick it up. I just know that it's a really hard read. It's about a really hard subject matter, and I really need to be in the right mindset before I pick it up. Next up, we've got The Lady of Bolton Hill by Elizabeth Camden. Once again, I know nothing about this. I know it's historical fiction, and I know that it's put out by a Christian publisher, which means that there is no sex in it, which I like. I enjoy historical fiction, but I feel like so many times the historical fiction that I see is romance and sex and all of that. So that's why I picked this one up at the thrift store. I don't know, I should just pick it up and read it. Now we've got Faithful by Janet Fox. This is one I picked up at a used bookstore. Once again, very common theme. I guess it's because if I'm paying full price for a book, it's a book that I really want to read. And so I typically read the books that I pay full price for. And then I'll buy used books for not full price, and that's when I'm not sure if I'm going to read this. I know this takes place in the early 1900s at Yellowstone. I tried reading it a couple years ago and I just didn't. The fact that I bought this book makes me want to eventually read it. I don't know. It does sound like something I would enjoy. I don't know why I never finished it, and I still don't know if I want to pick it up again. Finally, last up, I have The Lucy Variations by Sarah Zarr. I don't know anything about this except there's a piano on the cover, and I play piano, so I think that's why I got it. And there you have it. Those are all of the books on my contemporary shelf that I haven't read. Which ones have you read? Have you read any of them? I know that a lot of these are somewhat obscure, which makes the chances of people reading them a lot lower. I guess I'm just trying to figure out what books are worth it and what books I need to get rid of because there's no room on the shelves. And so many of these books I've had for years and I've never touched. So I think it's about time to let some of them go. Which ones do I let go? I don't know. Please help, please. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you like what you saw, and if you did, feel free to click subscribe. You can also follow me on my social media, which I will link below. I hope you're having a great bookish day, and I will see you next time. Bye!